Hello, everybody from Dr. Filippo. Thank you for being with us today. So I've got Belinda. She's a chiropractic doctor with me. And now, before I pass the ball to Belinda, I just want to tell you why I've got her with us today. Now, the reason for it, you know that I've called this program the Achiever. And the reason why I do it is because I believe there's an achiever within anybody, any one of us. And in some of us, the achiever is sleeping. Some of us is half awake, and some other people is wide awake. And I believe in Belinda is wide awake. I've known Belinda for a while, and she's one of those achiever that whenever she learns something, she put it into practice. Right away, she implements everything that she learns, and she see results coming back right away. And I've been watching her for a while, and I think she's a great lady. She's got lots of success. She's a great achiever. So thank you for being in the show today. And
You're welcome. And it's great to be here. And I have to say, that was such an amazing introduction. But you know what? I could say the same thing about Filippo. He is awesome. And, he's a real giver as well. He's very generous with his time. He's very generous with his spirit. If you need to learn anything, he is definitely the man to go to. And in terms of implementation, when he learns something new, he just does it. He's amazing. So right back at you there, buddy.
Thank you, Belinda. Right. So now the first thing I would like to ask you is, and that's the question I ask to all my clients, is why did you decide to become what you are, a chiropractor?
Okay. All right. So it's a long story, but I had a pretty amazing childhood, and my father had the sort of job that, took us all over the world to many far-flung countries, exotic locations. And, as a family, we had more adventure in a few short years than most people would ever dream of having over a lifetime. So we had an incredible nomadic and bohemian upbringing. But in all of that, there was a fly in the ointment, and the fly in the ointment was the fact that I suffered with chronic ear and throat infections. And to begin with, I think my parents weren't overly concerned, and they did what most people of the day did, and potentially still do today. And they would take me off to the local GP, whoever it was in whatever country it was at the time, and invariably the same thing would happen, and they would have a quick look at down my throat or in my ears, and then they'd say, well, we need to prescribe some antibiotics to clear that up. So that's what we did. So we'd trot off, we'd take the medication, and then until the next time, and then we would go back to the GP with the next infection, and the same thing would happen there. The trouble with this is that it wasn't really dealing with the problem, and the visits to the GP started to become increasingly frequent. The ear infections were getting more severe. The medication was having little or no effect, and then there was another outworking of that, and my health started to decline in other ways. I started to develop eczema. I started to develop food intolerances, and I started to get tired. And I think people thought I was lazy. I was just a lazy child. And I wasn't. I just didn't have any energy to do anything. And I remember this particular occasion, and we were living in Syria, in Damascus at the time. And I had this particularly severe infection. It was so bad in my ears that I had fluid leaking out of my ears. Everything was so swollen, I could barely touch them. I was just in so much pain. And so we went to the GP, and he was absolutely horrified at what he was seeing. And he said, I've never seen anything as bad as this. And if we don't do something right now, this is going to be a major issue. So he proceeded to insert these small bandages into my ears. It was the most excruciating thing I can ever remember. And I was screaming, and he was very compassionate, and he was very caring. But I could also imagine that he must have been concerned about what his patients were thinking in the reception area next door. Anyway, that stuck in my mind, and I'll never forget it. Now, it wasn't really until my family started to look outside of the confines of the orthodox status quo were we able to do something about my situation. And eventually I ended up seeing a chiropractor and many chiropractors, because we were always moving around, and that's was the nature of our life. And that was a completely different experience. And it was very holistic. You know, they were concerned about, they asked questions about our lifestyle and what I ate, and about birth trauma and about this, that, and the other. And it was just very comprehensive. But, you know, we went for it. And, you know, and soon after I started to see change in my health, to the point that, you know, my ear infections cleared up, my throat infections cleared up, and there was no requirement for antibiotics. And it was just, it really made a massive, massive difference in my health. And, you know, my whole family subscribed to chiropractic and naturopathy. My brother eventually became a chiropractor, actually started studying science medicine, and he just became so disillusioned with it that actually the philosophy of chiropractic resonated with him much more. So that's what he did. And my mother became a naturopath. But so eventually I wanted to do something that would make a difference in people's lives, and as profoundly as it did with mine. So I went on and did my first degree at the University of New South Wales, which is arguably the best uni in Australia. I'll probably get shot in the eye for that, but it was at the time. And the course we did alongside the medical students, we did exactly the same course at that time. We had the same undergraduate degree. And then I graduated with a major in anatomy. So after that, I went on to Macquarie University, and I studied a master's in chiropractic. And while I was doing that, to pay for some living expenses, I went back to the University of New South Wales, and I tutored in the cadaver labs to the chiropractic and the medical students. So that was quite fun, quite interesting. And then more latterly, I did a third degree here in the UK, actually, in Oriental medicine, and I did that through Portsmouth University. So that's what I did there as far as study. But of course it doesn't end there, and I have been practicing both in the UK and Australia. I've been practicing for about 27 years altogether now. And, you know, I've seen people from all walks of life, people of all ages, from newborns to people in their 90s. And, you know, people come to me with all sorts of complaints and conditions, and they say, oh, I've heard chiropractic can help with this, and I've heard chiropractic can help with that. And, do you know, I've always said to them, do you know, chiropractic doesn't treat anything. And those same people that I have said that to are still seeing me years on, because they feel so good. And the reason they feel so good is because chiropractic unleashes your body's ability to function at its best. It removes interference to the nervous system and allows the body to re-regulate itself so that it does the job that it was designed to do. And your inborn wisdom or your innate intelligence is then able to express itself at a higher level. So this is why I got into chiropractic. It was very profound for me, and it was vocational. So this is where I am here today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. 3 degrees, eh?
Oh,
That's
yeah. I'm a nerd.
that's crazy. So I really it really resonates with me, and the fact that, you know, you help the body actually to, you don't cure anything, you don't treat, and you don't even treat back pain. It's about, you
No.
know, in the body to be in the best place for healing and repairing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Belinda. So I would ask you, now we are on a time of crisis, they say, so during
Yeah.
coronavirus, and
Yeah.
a lot of people is actually stuck. They cannot go out, or they're stuck not just physically but mentally.
Yeah.
So what is you're not, by the way. So you're moving. You're trying to do your best, to everything you can to help your community. And what is one or two tips that you can give to someone that that is actually stuck and is not thriving? at this?
Okay. All right. So I could probably give you a number of tips, and I think it's important to really recognize that crisis will force change. You know, and you might get crisis in your environment, you might get evolutionary crisis, you might get crisis in your finance, in your personal life, in your business, in your community, globally. And I think, you know, to recognize that actually all of those things are happening right now. And it's the way you approach things that I think is key here. And you can either be proactive in your response to a crisis, or you can be reactive. So, for example, you know, reacting to a crisis is a bit like a deer getting stuck in the headlights. And being proactive is looking at the situation and actually adapting to it. And, you know, there are several things that you can do in order to adapt to this current situation. I think one of the big things is not allowing yourself to be locked in fear. It's difficult when the media are putting everybody into a fearful state. Every time you switch on the TV, there's nothing that's positive there. It's all about this current situation with coronavirus. It's all about how many people died that day. It's all about how many people we think are going to die tomorrow. It's all about, oh, we haven't peaked yet and we've got to now look at a longer period of lockdown. So there's all this negative stuff coming out all the time. So, you know, you can choose to either take that on, or you can choose to have a completely different outlook to it. And I would say one of the most important things that you can do is try and maintain a positive mental outlook. And there's infinite number of strategies in order to be able to do that. And I think one of the biggest things that I have looked at more than ever before, and I've talked about it before, but I think putting it into practice has now become essential. And that is an attitude of gratitude. And it's really about looking or waking up every morning and taking a moment before you get up, because we've got all the time in the world now, don't we?
Yep.
So it's about waking up and then considering the things that we are grateful for. 5 things. And, you know, list those things, talk them out loud. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful that I've got a roof over my head. I'm grateful there is abundant food, because there is abundant food right now. You know, so it's a matter of listing those things and acknowledging them. So that starts to create a resonance that's positive. So I think that's a really useful exercise to do. I think the other thing to do is to also look at this as a time of reflection and how you might do things differently. Look at how you've done things in the past and perhaps consider how you might do something different going forwards. Maybe it's spending and allocating more time with the kids. I think life can get so busy sometimes that you're just kind of living in the moment and you're just kind of getting through the day. Now we've had time to actually take stock and really connect again with family, actually with friends and other people through, you know, technology. You know, technology means we've had to adapt there and learn different forms of communication. So, you know, I think it's also looking at, you know, reflecting, but then moving forward from that and creating a plan for your life. So what I decided to do with the kids recently, and they, you know, they think I'm nuts all the time, but you know what, they kind of go with it, and they know that I'm a little bit crazy. And I said, right, you know, kids, what we're going to do is a vision board. And they said, oh, okay, well, that sounds good. What do we have to do? And I said, well, we're going to get some markers and we're going to get a flip chart and we're just going to write a whole heap of stuff down there. So that's what we did. And do you know what? Some of the stuff that came out was absolutely amazing. Once they got their head around it, and I gave them some subjects to work with, and I said, well, look, think about what you'd like to do for your career. Think about what you'd like to achieve at school. Think about what you'd like to do on a sporting level. Think about what you would like to do as your hobbies. Do you want to have a family one day? You know, just think about those things that you aim to do in your life, and just let's list them all down. And this creates your vision. Do you know, I learned things about my kids I didn't know. It was just extraordinary. And I think for my son, you know, I didn't know he wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Oh, wow.
You know, we've never talked about it. He knows that I've done it, but I didn't know that he wanted to do it. And he wanted to climb Mount Everest. Now he knows that I have gone to base camp Everest, but that wasn't good enough. He wants to go to the top. And I'm thinking, wow, I didn't know that. You know, so it was just really interesting to learn something new. So that's something that I would urge everyone to do is, you know, is to look at your vision going forwards. What do you want to do going forwards with your life? Because it's very easy just to feel stuck and do nothing and be the deer in the headlights, which is paralyzing and isolating. And you know that, and when you're isolating yourself like that, then of course it's going to lead to other issues like depression, anxiety, and all the rest of it. And I know we've seen a lot of that. So by doing exercises like that can really project you mentally and emotionally in a whole different direction. So that's definitely something that that I would be promoting there, and actually that we've done it as a family. One of the other things I think that's quite useful too, and I remember when I was getting pregnant, I wanted to get pregnant with my third child, and that was getting difficult for me because I was 42 at the time. And I had to look at all sorts of different things, working on my body, working on my mind, in order to create that reality. And one of the things there that I was taught was looking at positive affirmations and writing them down and putting them on a set of cards. And at first it felt a bit weird and a bit clunky, but that's what I did. And when I went into labor, and I was you know, very keen to have a home birth and do everything drug-free and naturally and all the rest of it, this is where I drew upon those affirmations, and I literally had them on a card, and my husband Charles was reading them out to me, and I think he felt a bit awkward about it, but you know, we went with it, and it really made a difference in just hearing those things and saying them out loud. And it's something that I've done with the kids as well, and we've just we've stuck it up on the walls, and we've talked through that stuff. So in terms of, you know, creating a positive mental attitude, I think doing the exercise with gratitude is essential every single day. Looking at your vision going forward, create a vision board, you know, write it down, drawing pictures, you know, make it fun for the kids. You can cut pictures out of magazines, and Alice really loved that because she's very visual and she loves that sort of thing. And also creating those positive affirmations, you know, whatever they are for you. So I think really those are the most important things we're doing. And for those of you that like to meditate, you know, there's some great apps out there. I think Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing something amazing there right now, and so you can definitely integrate those, and it doesn't take very long, but it's a great way to start your day. It's a great way just to have that mindset, that positive mindset, and then it takes you through that day. So certainly on a mental level, those are some of the things that I would suggest. Now on a physical level, it's really important that you start looking after your physical health. And, you know, there's no excuse. You know, we've got all the time in the world. You know, I've had people, you know, before all of this happened, and I said, you know what, I just don't have any time to do this, and I don't have any time to do that. Well, here it is, you know, and this is the thing, you know, this has provided opportunity to change our lives and to change our habits. This is now the time to create habits going forwards, that once you create momentum, and I think this is the difficult thing that people struggle with, is getting started and then keeping the momentum going forwards. Well, now this is the time to start creating the momentum, and then when life gets back to normality, although I never think it's going to be quite normal again, because crisis changes everything, right? But you know, we now have a habit there that we've got into. So exercise changes your physiology. There's no doubt about that. Exercise also helps to get your nervous system going. you know, ramping up your nervous system is going to have positive effects on the rest of your health. So exercise is absolutely key. And there's tons of different ways to do it. And you don't have to have a lot of space in order to do exercise. You
Yep.
know, if HIIT training is your thing, you can do it in a very small space. In fact, I had a Zoom session with my my PT yesterday. She nearly killed me. Oh my word, I can hardly walk today. But we did it in my living room in a very small space. So it, you know, it is all doable. Yoga, you know, you don't need a lot of space to do that. There's
Right.
plenty of things on YouTube there that you can do on that
Yeah.
level.
And
So exercise is absolutely critical.
I think because I have the same, you know, I have lots of clients say I don't have the time, I don't have the space, and you know, I live in a 1-bedroom flat with 3 kids, so
Yeah. You know, so there isn't any excuse, you know,
no,
if you can do it. And let me tell you, kids are expansive, aren't they? You know, they just take up the space. I've got 3 as well, so yeah,
yes,
I can relate to that for sure.
but
So yeah,
I really like, you know, talked about mental, you know, how to be there with your head in the right place. You gave lots of good stuff, and you know, meditation. Yeah, there's a lot of, the good thing is that a lot of people is giving away a lot of free stuff because of the crisis that is happening.
yeah,
So you know, even if you know, a lot of people is getting 80% of what they used to because they're furloughed, but they're not spending what they used to. So, and
yeah.
plus there's a lot of free stuff there. So
Oh, absolutely. It's great.
yes.
Yeah.
So, now, Belinda, I'm really grateful for you being on the show, and I'm mindful of your time. And I just wanted to thank you really for being here. And I'm pretty sure that whoever is going to listen to this is going to get great value, as I have. I was taking some notes as well, so that's great. Some things to improve. Especially on the vision board, I have one there, but it's been there for 2 years without being touched. So I need to go through that again.
Great.
So thank you so much. Really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
And yeah, one more thing: if someone wants to get in touch with you and wants to know more about Belinda, how can they do that?
Okay, look, there's dozens of ways you can get in touch with me. You can, I've got a website. It's Aligned Chiropractic in Hexham. So I've got a lot of information in there, a lot of, like newsletters, information about coronavirus, and I've got a lot of blogs and things like that. So you can get in touch with me that way. We're on Facebook, Aligned Family Chiropractic. So we're on Facebook. So you can get in touch with me there. You can call the practice directly, and we're picking up everything, all our communications remotely. Yeah, just click on Google. I'm sure I'm going to pop up there somewhere, and you'll be able to. And of course, I've got a YouTube channel as well under my name, so you can go there and you can find some interviews that I've been doing with our existing practice members and their journeys through chiropractic as well. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Okay. Well, thank you very much again, Belinda. And yeah, thank you everybody for being here. Just keep staying on the show, and I will have more guests coming up soon. Have a good day,
thank
everybody.
you, thank you.
You're welcome.